College sports video games are a thing of the past. It's going to be a long time before we see major companies once again developing and publishing these games, if ever. For a multitude of reasons, the past 2 decades have seen many great college sports video game franchises cease to exist. Most notably EA's NCAA football series, but many people would actually argue that there were no better sports games than the college basketball offerings from 2K and EA. EA Sports released the very successful NCAA March Madness lineup of games from 1998 to 2009, with NCAA Basketball 10 actually being the last college basketball video game ever released by a major publisher. The EA games were always highly regarded and had some of the greatest presentation amongst all sports games. But if you were to poll the sports gaming landscape over which game was the best college basketball game ever made, the answer wouldn't be an EA title. It would likely unanimously be College Hoops 2K8, 2K's final entry to their own long-running series. While 2K's NBA series was their company's flagship game, College Hoops received just as much love and attention to detail. Every year the game innovated and improved until the world received the ultimate college sports video game. Between the ahead-of-its-time gameplay with realistic physics, the deepest Dynasty Mode the world has ever seen, and insane customization options that rival any sports game to date, College Hoops 2K8 was a masterpiece that will likely never be topped. This video is sponsored by Raycon. The everyday E25 earbuds really do live up to the hype. They sound just as great as other top earbuds on the market, but are only half the price. They fit great in my ears and they don't fall out, unlike a lot of earbuds I've tried. Raycons are great for working from home, working out, and of course listening to music or podcasts, all without bothering roommates or neighbors. These are my go-to earbuds and I'm not alone. The company was founded by Ray J, and celebrities like Snoop Dogg, Cardi B, J.R. Smith, and more wear Raycons too. The everyday E25 earbuds are Raycon's best model yet, with 6 hours of playtime, seamless Bluetooth pairing, more bass, and a more compact design that gives you a nice, noise-isolating fit. Did I mention that they come in new fun colors? By clicking the link in the description below, you can get 15% off your order. Just click that link or head over to buyraycon.com/SOFTDRINKTV and grab yourself some Raycons for 15% off before they sell out. Now back to the video. Why is College Hoops 2K8 so loved? Why do people go through the effort of manually creating and sharing updated rosters for the game year after year? What makes people choose 2K8 over NCAA Basketball 10, a more recent game? A major reason is gameplay. NCAA 10 played very similar to NBA Live 10, which was the last great entry in the NBA Live series. While the gameplay wasn't bad in NCAA 10 or NBA Live 10, it got repetitive fast due to an overabundance of canned animations and an overall lack of physics-based events. College Hoops 2K8 uses real-time physics along with innovative controls leading to some of the best gameplay ever in a basketball game. 2K8 featured a revamped dribbling system that was all about momentum as your player's hand positioning and movement directly affects dribble moves. 2K8 added coaching adjustments during halftime, which analyzes your first half performance and suggests changes to implement, and the game's presentation was advanced enough to comment on these adjustments with the sideline reporters. My favorite part, by far, was the 6-man advantage feature that really gave the game the atmosphere of NCAA basketball. At the bottom of the screen was a meter that would go up as the home team gained momentum, leading to a louder and more wild crowd. If the meter got maxed out, it would trigger a huge boost for your players, raising their attributes temporarily. It wasn't overpowered, but actually realistic, as a super loud crowd at a major college could get in the heads of these young players on the away team, forcing poor shot selection or bad decisions. It could be countered by the away team hitting a dagger or getting a stop, immediately quieting the crowd and taking away the home team's boost. But when you're playing as the home team and get hot, and the crowd pumps you up and can help you go on a furious comeback or seal the deal, that is amazing. The feeling of quieting the massive home crowd as an away team underdog was equally as exhilarating. The game also added maximum passing, which gave players the freedom to choose if they wanted to throw a bounce, lob, or lead pass to a specific player. Animations were very smooth and fluid. They were chained together really well, creating realistic-looking gameplay that avoided awkward glitches or the appearance of forced canned animations. Watching two CPU teams play each other still looks fairly realistic today. Beyond gameplay, College Hoops 2K8 was deeper than nearly any sports game ever. Not only could you create your own plays, but you could create a school, complete with custom logos, uniforms, cheerleaders, chants, yes, custom chants, court designs, and more. Presentation, while not as good as NCAA 10's, is still fantastic. The commentary team is great in my opinion, and the crowd, cheerleaders, mascots, attention to detail, dynamic fans, arenas, and weekly wrap-up shows are all excellent. The Dynasty Mode, called Legacy Mode, is the #1 reason this game is still so loved today. No other sports game comes close, which is crazy considering this game is over 12 years old. You choose to either play an open legacy where you choose any school and run the program, or career legacy where you start a program from the ground up and either leave for a better opportunity once your name gets out there, or you take that program to the top. High school teams are in the game, available for scouting by playing the games, and recruiting is the greatest ever seen in a college sports game. You can request game tape from prospects, watch them in person, email them, call them, set up campus visits, or even visit the player's home. The sheer depth to the recruiting process has never been matched, and leads to one of the most immersive experiences I've ever had in a sports game. Building your own custom school from the ground up is super rewarding, and of course taking over your favorite team and running them the way you want to is a lot of fun. The thing about College Hoops 2K8 is that it never gets old. It's been around for over a decade, and people are still updating the rosters and playing Legacy Mode. Where other sports games can get repetitive, College Hoops 2K8 is addicting and hard to put down. If you've played it before, you'll understand. 2K Sports has decided not to continue negotiations with the CLC for the license for its top-rated College Hoops franchise, which would have been released in November 2008, 2K Sports said in a statement. "We are committed to providing fans with high-quality, critically acclaimed sports games, but given our disciplined approach to the business, we do not believe the current discussions would result in an acceptable outcome." At the time, Kotaku reported that the main reason 2K canceled the College Hoops series was pressure from EA, who was able to secure a deal with the collegiate licensing company for future titles. EA likely drove the price too high, and 2K was actually in a tight spot financially at the time. As great as their All-Pro Football 2K8 offering was, that game could actually be attributed to why there was no College Hoops 2K9 or 2K10. The game was 2K's return to football after the incredible ESPN NFL 2K5, but because of Electronic Arts' exclusive deal with the NFL, 2K couldn't use real teams or current players and instead had to purchase individual rights to former NFL legends to make their game feel less generic. While the on-field product was still, to this date, the best football gaming experience ever, as I went over in my video on the game, it sold very poorly and 2K took a loss from making the game. Purchasing all the rights to hundreds of NFL legends only to sell under 200,000 copies led to a poor year in revenue for 2K, despite NBA 2K8 selling very well. In order to raise their bottom line and turn a larger profit, obviously football games had to go until they could eventually secure an NFL license, and they had to cut ties with other underperforming games. NBA 2K was their flagship game, and that was 2K's focus. With EA raising the price of the NCAA license, 2K did not find it financially reasonable to continue making the College Hoops games. Could the College Hoops series eventually return? 2K is now one of the most profitable and highest grossing gaming companies in the world, so it likely was only a matter of time before they saw the benefit in expanding their sports lineup again. I would say yes, College Hoops would have eventually returned, if not for what happened a year later. College sports games were always operating in a legal gray area. It was a ticking time bomb. While these games had the rights to the schools, logos, uniforms, and sponsors, the players were never allowed to be used. The loophole was that these games would include generic versions of real players that just so happened to have the same height, weight, ethnicity, jersey number, and attributes as their real-life counterparts. Ads for games such as NCAA Football 10 would show a number 15 Florida quarterback and a number 12 Texas quarterback. Tim Tebow and Colt McCoy were never paid for their inclusion, based on the idea that it was purely coincidental that these generic players were so similar. Many people chose to direct their anger towards Ed O'Bannon, the former UCLA star who sued EA Sports for using his likeness, and many other players' likenesses, without these players receiving any kind of compensation. The lawsuit effectively made it illegal for player likenesses to be so similar to the actual players, without paying the players for their inclusion, which left video game companies and the NCAA with two options: use player likenesses and pay the players, or stop producing college video games, because let's be real, the majority of people aren't going to buy a college sports game with all generic players. Many would, don't get me wrong, but the majority wouldn't. Player likenesses is the main reason people purchase sports games every year. EA Sports, 2K, and the NCAA chose the latter option. And after NCAA 14, we haven't seen a single college sports game released from a major company. NCAA Basketball 10 was the last college basketball game as a result of the lawsuit. I don't think O'Bannon should get as much hate as he does. He has a good point. These players should be getting paid, and the legal loophole used by 2K, EA, and the NCAA is pretty dumb. The NCAA should allow players to receive compensation for their likeness, and it looks like that could be happening in the near future, as baby steps are currently being made. It's not Ed O'Bannon's fault college sports games have died out, it's the NCAA's fault for following archaic principles. 2K left the scene for financial reasons, but the lawsuit gave them a good reason to never return. As 2K continued to grow as a brand, they would have easily had the incentive and the money to return to college hoops, but without the ability to pay players to be in the game, it wasn't likely. NBA 2K16 had a few college teams in the My Career mode filled with completely generated players alongside now NBA players that were in college the previous year and 2K had the license for, and EA did a similar move in Madden 20's Face of the Franchise mode. But for the foreseeable future, college sports games, especially college basketball games, are not going to be developed again for a long time. Despite the recent changes to the NCAA that has given people false hope, we are still very far away. College Hoops 2K8 was the greatest college basketball game ever made, and today the game is still incredibly popular. Due to the cancellation of March Madness this year, people are streaming simulated games with updated rosters on 2K8. There is a large community creating accurate updated rosters for the game every year. While the gameplay feels a bit outdated today, it still plays relatively realistically, and the game's Dynasty Mode is one of the greatest, featuring the deepest recruiting experience of any college sports game ever. The gameplay physics, the weekly wrap-up shows, the in-game college atmosphere, the customization options, the incredibly deep Legacy Mode, all of that makes College Hoops 2K8 the definitive college basketball game, and I'd say the greatest overall college sports game ever made. Maybe we'll never see another entry to the College Hoops series, and maybe that's okay, because the series ended with such a bang that a future game likely wouldn't be able to match it, especially not in today's sports video game landscape. Thanks for watching.